And you.
I love you too.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey YouTube. We are here today to make a video about a topic that is kind of difficult for us to talk about, but we do want to talk about it. I recently posted on my Instagram page a life update for our friends and family, and I'm just very overwhelmed by the response from that post. And we've gone through something that has really changed our lives and changed the trajectory of everything we planned for our lives. And so we just want to talk about it and express our emotions more, in hopes that maybe this video helps somebody else feel less alone, because we have just felt so alone this past year, and it feels good to talk about it and be vulnerable with each other and vulnerable with friends and family and other people who have gone through similar situations. So on the post that I made, I talked about how we hated 2021, and I know a lot of people say that they hated 2021, and a lot of that has to do with COVID and the quarantine. In 2021, we went through 3 miscarriages. And I feel like miscarriage is a word that's kind of thrown around and talked about, but it's like when I was a kid and I always heard people talk about how they had divorced parents, and you think that that's never going to happen to you, and then one day it does. My parents got divorced at a later age, into my teenage years, so it's like one of those things that you think, man, that's never going to happen to me, but it's so common and it happens to so many people, and that's something that we went through. And it was a slow process, and we could talk in depth about how long miscarriages last and all that kind of stuff. But I think for us, it was more shocking than anything, because like I said, you hear about it, like you hear the word miscarriage, and I think everybody just subconsciously thinks, oh yeah, that happens to people, but that's never going to happen to me. But it happened to us. 3 times, and that now puts us in a high risk zone for any sort of pregnancy that we have in the future, or when we want to start trying to have a family again. We are in, I guess, 1% of couples that go through 3 or more miscarriages, and that's been a lot to process for us.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's a weird thing to try to like verbally process for me, because I'm one of those people who a lot of things in life just kind of roll off your back. When we went through the first one, it took a while for the realization that it was actually happening to come to me. Mostly because the realization that we were pregnant had taken its time to like happen. And then next thing you know, we're not pregnant anymore, and my wife's in pain, and there's nothing I can do about it. And so that happens, and it's just like a whirlwind, and like you don't really process anything. And I don't know, this might be the same way for a lot of guys, but it's like hard to like process that emotion and that experience, because you're going through it, but it's not happening to your body. It's happening to someone else's body who you love, and it's like a hard thing to understand what's going on for them. And then the second one came along, and we thought we'd give it another chance, another try to have a baby. And again, it was one of those things where this time it was a little different. I was like, okay, like I'm prepared for this and like mentally ready for it. And so when she was pregnant, it was more exciting. It felt more real. It wasn't like a dream feeling, which was what the first one was. And that one happened a little quicker. And so then again, it was like I was able to actually process it a little more because I kind of knew what was happening. You know, when you get that sickening sinking in your heart and your stomach when like the realization that is happening again. And then again, being completely helpless, completely powerless to change it and to influence it in any way. And then the third time, we weren't even trying to get pregnant, and just one day it was a surprise, and we were excited, but like at this point it was tough because like we'd almost gotten used to it, and like I didn't let my hopes get up, which is a really tough thing to have to do, to not get excited for it because I want to be a dad, and I'm excited to be a dad, and to know that something really wonderful is happening, but like being like, oh well, maybe, you know, we'll see, let's just give it some time, and not being able to enjoy that. What's worse is when it actually comes to the fact that you were right and like it didn't happen, and then it almost makes it hard for you to grieve for that kid because you didn't let yourself enjoy it in the first place. And it's just this and then you feel like a bad parent or a bad person because you don't feel as sad as you feel like you should. And so it's just it's quite the roller coaster of emotions.
I think that's a really good point. Like, you know, when we went through the first one, it's kind of like miscarriage is one of those things that so many people go through, but I think what other people who have never... Sorry.
It's okay.
I think if you've never experienced it, you just don't realize how life-altering it is. And I think with the first one, you know, it's almost like you black it out because you don't have the opportunity to pause your life, and they last a very long time. They're not really quick. Just the one we found out we were pregnant this third time the day after Thanksgiving, and lost the baby relatively early, a couple weeks later. I have been actively bleeding for over a month now. And some days you're in so much pain that it's like hard to walk. Some days you don't feel it at all. It's like this really weird thing that your body is going through. We watched a movie or a show recently, and one of the characters in it had a miscarriage, and it's like described so perfectly. It's like one day you feel this magic of being pregnant, and sorry,
it's okay,
you know your baby's there and you can just feel it. Like every time that we got pregnant, I feel it. Like before the test even was positive, you know you're pregnant. It's like a completely different, wonderful feeling. and also terrible. I mean, the morning sickness sucks. I was a little bit of a brat about that, but you feel it, and then one day it's just gone. And it really is like a flip of the switch. Like, it just goes away, and you black it out. At least that's what I did with the first two. I totally blacked it out. I was in PA school at the time, which is like a mini medical school, is what I call it. And being in a medical program and going through the miscarriage, like, I had no time to not study and not go to my clinical rotation. And just because, like, I was in a medical program, like so many other women who go through miscarriages, they have to go to their job or whatever it is they're doing. And like I said, I've been bleeding for 5 weeks now. There's some days where it's hard to walk, some days where it's hard to process, some days you can't look in the toilet at what you're seeing, and it's hard to just pee. And women have to go, back to work. There's no time for you to process your loss or go through it until it's over. And that's really hard. So it causes you to have to black it out, and put it in the back of your mind, and you don't have time for it. And then, like Sam said, the more it happens to you, the more numb you become to it, the less excited you become to be pregnant, and the more you just kind of like hold your breath. And PTSD is a very real thing. It'll wake you up in the middle of the night, and this has just been so life-altering for us, because of how hard it is to process. And there are a lot of people out there that don't want children, and that's everyone's choice. But for Sam and I, this is our biggest dream. I mean, every reason we chose the careers that we chose, and every life decision we've made is for us to have a family and be good parents. And I've always, my entire life, wanted to be a mom. And I grew up in a family that was very, like, career-driven people. Everyone in my family has had very successful careers and works really hard. And I like to work hard. I pushed myself. When I was 18 and I got to college, I pushed myself to get into a medical program. And for the past 8 years, I've been working towards becoming a PA and being a provider. And my whole goal, and anybody who's met me could tell you, my whole goal was, I want to do this to make sure my family's provided for, because PAs make good money, and I was good at science, but my dream career has been to be a mom, and it has never been to be a PA. That was just something I enjoyed. And it's been really hard, because when you come as a couple, when you come to this, like, we may never be able to have children together, it changes the way you view life and what's important. So I made the difficult decision to withdraw from PA school. And I can honestly say that's probably one of the better decisions I've ever made. We have a weird piece about that decision. Even though we are in debt, a lot of debt, from PA school, and I have no idea what I'm going to do now with my life. I do know that we're high risk now, and whenever we try to start a family again, I need to be here 100% for it, and there's no way I can be a provider and do that. And so yeah, miscarriage has really, I mean, it's just a word to a lot of people, but it is life altering. And I don't think enough people realize that. Or if they do realize that and they've had to go through it, it's like you're not able to share it. Like, you can't talk about it. And I don't know why you can't talk about it, because it's like the worst thing you can go through. And for us, being able to talk about it has helped us process it so much with our friends and family.
Well, I want to talk about how through the process, especially being someone who, like, a man of faith and someone who believes in, in God and in Jesus and the power of prayer and, like, the responsibilities of, like, the role of a father. I think when it first happened, I felt like really responsible for it. Like, I had to fight all of these thoughts in my head of, oh, I didn't pray hard enough. I didn't have enough faith. I wasn't loving enough, or maybe maybe this is God's way of punishing me, which are all lies. But but even though I knew they were lies, like, it was still something you have to fight mentally, like, every day. And I've finally gotten to the point, I think, where I'm able to, I no longer have those thoughts, and they no longer, like, attack me the way they did. And I've been able to process, and through a lot of prayer and just honestly crying, but being able to just get to the point where I realized, like, okay, like, this, like, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't that I didn't do something right, or I wasn't prepared to be a father, that, like, God took this away from me. So I guess I mostly want to say that for anyone else, any other couples going through this, for both the wife and the husband, but mostly the husband, because I have experience on that role. That, yeah, I feel like as men, we a lot of the time we feel that responsibility of, like, it's our job to fix things, it's our job to solve problems, and it's our job to make sure that everything is doing what it's supposed to. And so when things aren't going the way they're supposed to, we feel that inherent responsibility. So I want people, whoever else is going through this, to know that it's not your fault. It's not a punishment to you. It's not a punishment to, it doesn't speak to your manliness. It doesn't speak to how good of a husband you are, or how good of a father you could be. And if you feel that way, just know that, like, I've gone through that too, and I am here for you if you need to talk, or anything like that, because that was definitely something I probably should have done, and I had a hard time doing. It was really difficult to reach out to people for me, but I know it can be helpful. So
I think it was difficult for both of us to reach out to people.
Yeah,
it's hard because, like, when it's like, almost like, I think from a woman's perspective, it's like you feel like, I'm the one that's supposed to be carrying this baby, and like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I keep this baby? Like, why is this, like, what's wrong with me? Because for us, this is our story, and I know a lot of other people go through different things, but for us, like, we had a very easy time getting pregnant. Like, if we wanted to try to get pregnant, we usually got pregnant right away. And I know other couples go through difficulties getting pregnant, and that was not something that we went through. And so for me, there was no doubt that nothing's wrong with Sam. There was no doubt for that with me. And so when it happened over and over and over again, I was like, why does this keep happening? Like, why? And I think it breeds this like level of shame as a woman, because you get scared to tell other people because everyone reacts differently. And if anyone is going through this, I can tell you that, like, personally, the women that have reacted with like a lot of grace and love have been people that have been very unexpected to me. It's like women that have either gone through miscarriage or have children of their own, you'll get like, I think it's hard to not be calloused because you get different reactions from different people. And I think that like you have this self-conscious, for me, I have this like self-conscious thought of, man, like, this is the third time I'm telling this person I'm pregnant. Are they gonna judge me? Like, are they gonna be like, why do they keep trying to get pregnant? Like, obviously this isn't working for them. And I know all of those things are lies in my head. And if people really do think that, then they suck. But I think people that don't understand have a different reaction. And even people that haven't gone through it, but their mothers, they had a different reaction than what I thought they would have. And it's very loving, and we honestly have been overwhelmed by people who have loved on us during this. Just in the few weeks, we felt more open to talk about it, because I think for a while we did the whole like, black it out, be strong, don't let anyone see that you're weak. And I grew up in a family where that is like the prime thing to do. You can go through something tough, and it's like a tough love type of thing. And I love my family very much, but we are definitely a tough love family. And it's hard when you have like the shame and the hold it all together, go back to work, tough love, push through it. It's hard because you go through it for such a long period of time before you can try again. And then when you want to try to have a baby again, you're not mentally ready for it because you just blacked out the last 2 months of your life because it sucked so much. And when you do feel ready for it again, and then it happens again, it's just this like roller coaster of emotions. And it's detrimental to do it alone. Like, extremely detrimental to do it alone. I think, Sam said we're people who really believe in the power of the Lord and love Jesus with everything we have. And it really tests your faith of, okay, why, Lord? Like, I'm doing all the right things. Like, why is this happening to us? Like, that the desire of our heart is to be parents with every pure intention possible. So why? And you go through things that test your faith, and then, this really is an opportunity for an attack on your relationship, because there are so many different ways that one miscarriage can create distance between you and your significant other. And it tests your marriage on, like, man, how strong are we really? And to be quite frank, Sam and I went through a really crappy dating relationship. We should not be married right now. I mean, we should. But the reason we're married is really because of the Lord and his faithfulness in our lives, because we're very different people and we just had a lot of stuff in our relationship, and that's a whole nother video. But I think that, we're coming up on our 2nd anniversary, so we haven't been married for that long, and I think that honestly, if we hadn't gone through all the stuff that we went through when we were dating, I don't even know how we would have gotten through 3 miscarriages. Like, losing a baby is... I can't even explain it. And I couldn't have gotten through it without you. And I know a lot of people, it did test our marriage in different ways. But honestly, you really don't know how much you rely on each other until that's all you have, because no one else understands. No one else has to see it because it's traumatic. It's horrible. And
yeah, I think, if you don't mind me.
Yeah.
I think one thing that was a silver lining to this was, it did test our relationship in a lot of ways. I think part of that is because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm someone who, when something bad happens or something hurtful happens, I kind of roll with the punches and just keep trucking. It's just what I do. And Sam, like she said, she comes from a family that's very tough love and very much pull yourself up, get going, so we're very similar in that sense. And so our initial response to the heartbreak and our initial response to that is to pull back and deal with it ourselves as individuals. But you can't do that as a couple, because your hearts are tied to each other and your emotions are tied to each other, especially when you love each other as much as we do. Each other's actions have an effect on each other's emotions. So yeah, there's some points where it was really tough, but honestly, it was also a moment when I was able to experience an intimacy with Sam of just that emotional rawness and emotional vulnerability, that when we did realize that we needed to come together and we needed to go through it together, and that we were both trustworthy and that we could process it with each other, and that we didn't need to be brave in front of each other and we didn't need to be strong in front of each other, it is actually, in the long run, strengthened our relationship. And I'm more in love with you than I ever was.
I love you.
So, yeah. Silver lining, at least. And we're still very excited for our future. We're still very excited for our babies that we're going to have in the future, because we believe we will. We're still working really hard to ensure that our family is set up for success in the future. And we are not backing down from it. We're not crawling into holes. We're marching forward. And even though we are not where we expected to be,
nope.
even just a month ago, in life, we are very excited for what the future holds. And we are, I don't think I've ever actually been this excited for what the future holds.
Yeah,
which is weird.
It's a really weird feeling. Like, we've had so much happen in the past month. I don't even remember Christmas Day because I just think that this past month has been crazy. You know, we've been going through, you know, we're still going through the third miscarriage. And every day is different. Every day has, you know, you have a different level of strength. And we left our apartment in Denver
A week before Christmas.
And moved down into my mom's basement just while we look for a home and kind of figure out what our life is going to look like now, because I was supposed to graduate PA school this year and that's not going to happen. We have 2 due dates that we still have to pass this year, and those are hard. And I have no idea what I'm going to do for a living. We're living out of boxes right now. All of our clothes are in boxes in this room while we just figure our life out. And everything has been a whirlwind of an experience. But we've prayed really hard about this. And it's the right call, and I know I'm sad. I know I'm crying a lot in this video, but we've prayed so much about this and leaving our first little home together. And I told Sam, I've never ended the year and felt like the end of an era, like everyone talks about, where they're like, oh, you know, new year, new me. We still have a lot to go through in 2022, but we're so excited for what's going to happen. And one of the biggest things that's been laid on our hearts is to share our story. And this video is a very small snippet. It's just kind of like raw emotions and everything that we've felt through this. But our hope is that someone, even if it's just one couple, feels less alone. That's what happens, because that can just traumatize you when you feel alone after losing a baby. That's like the worst feeling, and so we don't want anybody to feel that way. And that's why we're making this video, in hopes that someone out there feels less alone. And we're excited for what our future holds. We're scared. Don't get me wrong, we're really scared. But we have each other, and we have our little puppies who are sleeping behind us. And endless possibilities this year.
We're gonna crush it.
And we have a lot of peace, even though all these decisions feel really weak and scary to me. We have a lot of peace behind them, and to me that's just a testament to what the Lord is saying in our relationship, and I'm really confident in that one. So, even after the crappiness of this year, if anyone does feel like they need support or encouragement, please reach out. I don't even know how that happens. Maybe I'll put like an email or something in the description of this video. This is like my 5th YouTube video ever, so
just jumping right in.
No idea how to do that. But yeah, we love everyone who has taken the time to hear our story and listen to us speak, and we are taking deep breaths, but we'll continue to share how this has affected our lives and be vulnerable and open and honest, because it's important not to feel alone. So we love you guys. Thank you again for watching. Bye.